the Supercharged 3.0T, the one found in the B8S4 and S5 and the C7A6 and A7, doesn't fail the way most engines fail. Oil starvation and catastrophic overheating are rare. What kills this engine is heat management failures and intake coolant system complexity, and most owners don't realize how interconnected everything is until damage has already started. Today, we're walking through the 5 mistakes that turn minor issues into expensive engine damage, and every single one of them is specific to how this supercharged platform is built. Mistake number 1, letting the water pump or thermostat leak go. On the 3.0T, the water pump and thermostat assembly sit in the valley of the engine, directly under the supercharger. It's not an easy location to access, which is exactly why owners put off dealing with small coolant leaks. You notice a faint coolant smell after driving. Maybe you're adding half a quart of coolant every few weeks. It's not dramatic, so the natural response is to top it off and deal with it later. But on this engine, coolant leaks don't just drip onto the ground. They pool in the valley where the pump and thermostat sit. That coolant soaks sensors, degrades wiring insulation, and affects the supercharger intercooler circuit. What happens is the intercooler system stops working efficiently, but you don't see it as an engine overheat warning on the dash. Instead, intake air temperatures climb. The ECU starts pulling timing to prevent knock. You lose power under boost. Over time, that knock correction isn't enough, and you get detonation, which is cumulative piston damage. On most engines, a small coolant leak is an inconvenience. On the 3.0T, it's a direct path to engine damage because of where that leak is happening and what it affects. Fix it early, not when it gets worse. Mistake number 2, ignoring failing intercooler bricks inside the supercharger. The 3.0T uses air-to-water intercooler cores that sit inside the supercharger housing itself. Most engines have intercoolers mounted externally where you can see and service them easily. This one doesn't. The intercooler bricks are integrated into the blower, and they can crack internally. When that happens, coolant leaks directly into the intake airstream. You'll see white smoke from the exhaust, misfires that seem random, and spark plugs that foul quickly. In severe cases, if enough coolant gets into a cylinder, you're looking at hydrolock, which means bent rods and a destroyed engine. Most owners see white smoke and misfires and immediately assume head gasket failure, so they start diagnosing the wrong system. But this engine has coolant running inside the intake manifold, which almost no other engine does. If you're seeing white smoke that smells sweet, misfires under boost, or coolant loss with no visible external leak, the intercooler bricks inside the supercharger should be the first thing you check, not the last. If you want more deep dives into what makes high-performance German engines different and how to keep them running long-term, leave a like and subscribe with notifications on. Mistake number 3, running dual pulley or stage 2 setups without upgrading crank pulley dampening. The 3.0T uses a press-fit crank pulley and harmonic balancer setup, and it works fine at stock power levels. But when you start running smaller pulleys, dual pulley kits, or aggressive tunes that push boost higher, you're increasing the torque shock loads on the front of the crankshaft every time the supercharger spools. That stress adds up. What happens over time is crank pulley slip, where the pulley starts rotating independently from the crankshaft because the press fit isn't holding anymore. You get harmonic imbalance, which causes vibration. The accessory drive system starts having issues because nothing is spinning in sync anymore. In rare but documented cases, you can get crankshaft stress damage at the front journal. The bottom end of the 3.0T is incredibly strong. The rods, pistons, and main bearings can handle serious power. But the front drive system wasn't designed for constant high torque shock loads from an overdriven supercharger. If you're going stage 2 or beyond, upgrading the crank pulley and adding proper dampening isn't optional. It's necessary to protect the front end of the crank from damage that doesn't show up until something catastrophic happens. Mistake number 4, ignoring PCV failure, which is extra dangerous on this engine. PCV failure is a problem on many engines, but the 3.0T's crankcase ventilation system is routed through the supercharger area, which makes failure consequences worse. When the PCV valve fails, crankcase pressure builds up, and that pressure doesn't just push oil past seals. It affects the supercharger seals. It allows oil vapor to contaminate the intercooler system, reducing cooling efficiency. It creates boost leaks because the pressure balance inside the intake system is compromised. What you end up with is rear main seal failure, not because the seal wore out, but because it was never designed to handle internal crankcase pressure. You get oil contamination inside the supercharger itself. You get boost leaks that are hard to track down, and oil consumption spirals because blow-by is being forced past the rings instead of vented properly. The PCV system on the 3.0T is more integrated than it is on typical turbocharged engines. When it fails, the damage spreads fast and replacement costs multiply because you're not just fixing a valve, you're chasing all the secondary damage it caused. If you've owned a 3.0T and dealt with PCV or boost-related issues, what's the one thing you'd make sure someone checks before it turns into multiple failures? Leave it in the comments below. Mistake number 5. Letting carbon buildup get severe. Direct injection engines all build carbon on the intake valves because there's no fuel wash keeping them clean. The 3.0T has that same issue, but it's worse because the supercharger is constantly heating intake air, the PCV system routes oil vapor back into the intake, and intake air temperatures run higher than they would on a naturally aspirated engine. Carbon accumulates faster, and it disrupts airflow in a way that matters more on a forced induction engine than it does on a naturally aspirated one. What happens is uneven cylinder filling. Some cylinders are getting more air than others because the carbon buildup is blocking valve flow inconsistently. That causes knock sensitivity, especially under boost, because the air-fuel ratio isn't balanced across all cylinders. You get misfires under load. The engine feels rough. And under high boost, that uneven combustion is much more dangerous than it would be in a naturally aspirated engine because cylinder pressures are already elevated. Detonation in one cylinder can cause piston damage even if the other cylinders are running clean. Carbon buildup on most engines is a performance annoyance. On the 3.0T, it's a detonation risk, and detonation is what kills pistons. Walnut blasting the intake valves every 60,000 to 80,000 miles isn't a luxury service. It's preventative maintenance that keeps combustion balanced and safe. Here's the pattern. The Supercharged 3.0T doesn't die from oil starvation or a single catastrophic overheat. It dies from heat management failures and intake coolant system complexity. The intercooler cores are inside the supercharger. The cooling system is multi-loop and buried in the valley. The PCV system and intake are tightly integrated. Every system affects another system, which means small failures cascade into big problems faster than they would on a simpler engine. And the biggest trap? Treating minor symptoms like they're not urgent. A small coolant leak, a slight misfire, a brief knock event. These aren't warning signs you can ignore. They're the beginning of a chain reaction. If you take care of the cooling system, keep the PCV functional, address carbon before it gets severe, and respect the limits of the front drive system when adding power, this engine will last. But if you treat it like a low-maintenance, naturally aspirated engine, it won't. If you want more videos on what separates long-term survivors from expensive failures in high-performance German engines, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.